I'm Trish Toby with WARC reporting to you live from Westchester, New York, where there appears to be some sort of mutant menace on the loose.
Hey, I'm Pat Reber.
And I'm Matt Ockamp.
And say it with me, Pete. Welcome
to
Mutant Menace.
Fucking...
Yeah, that one was rough.
Anyway, Pat, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Matt. Wait, hang on.
I don't
at least answer your question.
Okay, you can, but it's gonna get...
It's just getting worse. Okay. I'm doing well, Matt. Thanks. How are you? Okay. All right. But let's get into it. We have a few emails today, all from friends of the podcast. First, Mr. Sinewave Sean writes in. He says, "Hey, Pat. Tell Matt that having read all 15 appearances of Wood God, I think he's pretty cool, actually. At least when he's not being written by Bill Mantlo, which he usually is."
How?
Cheers.
You would have to go out of your way to read all 15 appearances of Wood God, right? Like, you wouldn't naturally stumble across them. And I can't imagine it's somebody's favorite character. I can't imagine Sinewave Sean is just like, I love Wood God. Give me all the Wood God you got. I imagine he was like, you know, it'd be funny if I find every appearance of Wood God
and read it to spite this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we'll just go ahead and watch a Matt Damon movie you haven't seen yet.
For people who don't know, Sidewave Sean hosts a podcast where he watches all the Matt Damon movies.
Up next, Email Michael writes in. He's got some interesting things here.
Okay.
Hey, Pat. Tell Matt that I didn't notice any specific calls to action in this episode, but he suggested a new format at the end for an email in which I could send in questions, observations, or spin my wheels. So I'll try that. But he actually does all three. So
all right.
He's aware that we don't need all three, but he's putting them all in here. Question. According to the Marvel Fandom Wiki, Joff and Mott were named after the early 1900s comic strip Mutt and Jeff. Have either of you ever read Mutt and Jeff, and what are your feelings about references like those making their way into Marvel Comics?
I have seen Mutt and Jeff. I don't know if I've read Mutt and Jeff. How about you?
No, I've definitely never read Mutt and Jeff. I've definitely heard of it, but my knowledge of comics definitely doesn't extend back to...
I can picture both Mutt and Jeff, but I don't know anything about what they do or why.
Email Michael, though, says personally he thinks it's always fascinating when these references outlive their source material. Observation, that same wiki says that Mott can lift over 100,000 tons.
So Joff!
Since Mott is 1,000 times stronger than Joff, it suggests that Joff's baby arms can lift 100 tons.
Yeah.
Email Michael goes on to observe that he could maybe lift 0.1 tons, which is about 200 pounds on a good day, meaning that Joff is 1,000 times stronger than him. He says he doesn't have a point, but this does suggest that he might be the Guardian that the X-Men just flew by.
First Guardian of the Ruby Gem of Cyttorak. No, this is the M. Crayon Crystal. Sorry, not the... Yeah.
And then, spinning my wheels, he babbles with the best of us here. He says, as a kid, I got into comics because they weren't just cool action stories, but because I felt inspired by the heroes and how they always did what was right, even when it was difficult. They were morality tales that made me think it was worth it to be a better person. I can absolutely relate to that. That's the same thing that got me into comic books, right?
Right.
A lot of the X-Men comics from the 60s and 70s feel like they haven't gotten there yet and are focused more on spectacle and surreal action than on trying to do good or even be good. I'm curious for your thoughts on this because I'm worried I'm applying modern standards or something, and that stories where the Blob keeps getting beaten up by people who want him to work for them, or where Professor Xavier is attracted to teenage girls, are in fact inspirational and good. I just lack the context because I wasn't alive then and don't understand that culture enough.
What are your thoughts on this, Pat?
That is a really interesting point. I think when we look at things through the lens of history, we still have to say, like, okay, but Professor X was still proclaiming his love for a 15-year-old girl. That's, history or not, there are people back then that knew that that was inappropriate.
Right. It's like when people talk about racism in the US and they're like, oh, it's a different time. And you can point out how many anti-racist movements there were in the US at the same time. It's like, okay, yeah, but
yeah.
I do think these were supposed to be tales of heroism. And I just think that there is flawed morality running through. There are things that the writers haven't reckoned with. Right. Yeah. Like the writers hadn't reckoned with the idea that it is inappropriate for an adult to date or to be in love with a 15-year-old girl. And
there is this masculinity at the time is kind of defined by, there's a moment here. Okay. So this is something that I think is nuts and ties in, but there's a moment that we'll talk about here where Cyclops is plummeting to his death and accepts his death. He's like, okay, this is it. It's been a good run. This is at least the third time we've seen this since we've started this podcast. And it's the idea. Why would you react that way? Why, as you're falling to the ground, would you say, okay, I guess that's it. I've had a good run. This is a noble death. Let's go. Instead of just trying to continue to get yourself out of that situation. And the answer is because masculinity, especially in the 70s, was defined by being like a stoic man in the face of danger. And the ultimate point to that is, in the face of death, you are able to accept it and you don't feel like a panic for your life.
Right. And heroism at this time was still defined in the mythological sense, right? Yeah. So when, they are still drawing upon old cultures and their definitions of, what made Perseus a hero, what made Gilgamesh a hero, what made Beowulf a hero is still what they're drawing upon to make Cyclops a hero. So the notion of what is heroic, I think, has changed. But nevertheless, I think these were supposed to be heroic tales, and these were supposed to be heroes that you could look up to and want to emulate. And the beating up the Blob because he wouldn't join their team thing, I think unfortunately, I think at the time, not enough people were questioning the idea that there are a thing in the world called good guys, and there's a thing in the world called bad guys.
Right. It's just...
And Blob was a bad guy, and so it's okay.
Well, it's also the masculine heroic take at that time would be, if somebody's mouthing off to you, and especially if they're mouthing off to a woman in your presence, you should slap them. You should beat them up. That makes you the man in that situation.
Again, that's what Beowulf would do, right? Like this is their reference for heroes. They hadn't come up with a whole new type of a version of heroism yet.
All right. We wanted to spin wheels and we've referenced Beowulf.
Thank
you, Email Michael, for following the instructions to the letter.
If you want me to spin my wheels, get me talking about mythos and legends. I will. We could be on 3 episodes from now and Pat will have just muted me and talked about all the X-Men while I'm still talking about why Gilgamesh is so cool.
Yeah, please believe that no matter how long Matt's speech on heroism was, I've edited some of it out. We have one last email again from a regular friend of the podcast. His name is Weapon Jason.
Weapon Jason. Also, I just want to interrupt for a second. We love you guys. We love Sinewave Sean. We love Email Michael. We love Weapon Jason. We'd love to add a new member to our Rogues Gallery. So if you're listening and you're thinking, well, I don't know. They like it's like a club that I don't know if I'm invited to. You are.
No, if you're listening,
write in.
You should be writing into us. It's a little offensive that you haven't.
Well,
now. Weapon Jason writes in email subject the info dump you didn't ask for.
Oh no, Pat, you did specifically say Weapon Jason, do not write in about this. And now I'm worried that this is exactly what this email is.
He wrote in about some of the things that we specifically asked for, and he just expounded on it. So
I love it. This is what I love about these guys.
Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee is the line that likely inspired the Guardian name. Also,
yes, I said that, Weapon Jason.
Wait, Matt, take a deep breath. Remember that he's telling us this because we asked him to confirm that for us.
Fine.
Thank you, Weapon Jason. He says also
I'm mad at you. Pat is happy about this.
I could data dump on you more than I'm about to, but Progressive Conservative was a political party here in Canada, both federally and provincially. Remember that John Byrne referred to himself as a Progressive Conservative. Byrne, having grown up in Canada during the late 50s and into the early 70s, would have been exposed to John Diefenbaker federally and Peter Lougheed provincially, which likely influenced his political views. Hit up Wikipedia for more, but basically the PCs were a centrist party that leaned right for economic issues.
Thank you. That's interesting.
Yeah. It sounds like these are active figures in Canadian political history. Also, the current Canadian federal government in 1978 is the Liberals under Pierre Trudeau Sr., who is hated by Albertans at this time. I've sometimes suspected that this is why Canada comes off as a rather underhanded, secretive, and controlling force in the Marvel universe. Byrne, I suspect, had opinions.
It is so funny that that's never been the cultural association the U.S. has had about Canada. We've always thought of them as sort of like the friendly younger brother. And in the Marvel universe, they are the most evil, underhanded, shadowy government. Like, that's so like that's second so only to the Marvel Russians.
He goes on to tell us what the Avengers and Fantastic Four have been up to. It's tangentially related to future X-Men stuff. We get a early Henry Garokk appearance, and also we get a little bit of Beast story. He goes on to compliment us. Your commentary about the scope of the stories and how they feel small and such is spot on. I do feel like I have to remind you again, though, that in 1978, we're picking these issues up off a newsstand or spinner rack at a department store, and there's no guarantee we're going to be able to get the next issue. This is why even major epics like the Korvac saga, Kree-Skrull War, or the upcoming saga are all dealt with in a short run. Not sure. Probably an Avengers thing. He seems to read a lot of them. He shouts out Island Fantasy, his first comic book shop, where he was able to fill out his collection of back issues. He just says we nailed all the other points. He has reached the end of the Very Worst podcast.
What's that?
That's a podcast that I did a few years back where
sounds stupid.
Me and some jackass
and our friend Ashley
made me watch all the Pokemon movies. I think we ended that early, but there was only like 1 or 2 movies to go when we ended it.
I think the only movie left to go was a movie that came out while we were doing the podcast, and it was in theaters, and I tried to get you guys to go see it in theaters with me, and you wouldn't. You wouldn't.
I know. We were so sick of it. I will say, if for probably the 3 fans, we know Sinewave Sean, we know now Weapon Jason. There's probably a third person out there that is picked this podcast up from the Very Worst. It was all my fault. Matt has insisted over and over again that we get back to it and finish out the series, and I refuse. I will never watch another Pokemon movie.
I just think it would have been so funny to have watched them all a second time.
I can't wait till we start this all over again from issue 1.
When we're 72.
Yeah. weird. I haven't heard the music cue yet, but there's no more emails left to read. So I'm not sure. How do we handle this, Matt?
I guess we just wait.
You think another email might come in? Let me refresh our inbox here.
Oh, phew. Oh my gosh. That was getting...
Okay.
That was rough.
Thank goodness. Because I tell you, Matt, there's something I've been meaning to ask you.
Thank you. Yeah, please go ahead.
What have you done this week that's X-Men related?
Okay, I did do something X-Men related.
Ooh.
I went to in the area of Pennsylvania I live, eastern Pennsylvania, but west of Philadelphia.
Yes.
Back when you get out into the suburbs, but before you hit Amish country. That is the sweet spot.
Yes,
that is where Pennsylvania is the best.
The civilized part of Pennsylvania outside of Philadelphia.
And
Pittsburgh.
There's this thing that happens in that area that's been going on for 96 years straight called the Old Fiddler's Picnic. And it happens in a place called Hibernia Park. And they have a stage where they have some featured like folk music bands. And it's all acoustic, right? So they have some featured folk music bands on the stage, but you can also sign up. So it's almost like an open mic also.
Okay.
And it is it's a concert that goes for several hours. And then there's vendors and there's food and stuff. And then out in the woods, musicians just sit down and start playing traditional music, and other musicians gather around them in a circle and also start playing traditional music. And so you could just walk through from circle to circle, just listening to people play different traditional music. And again, because it's traditional music, either people already know it or they can pick it up really quick, like on the fly. And so people are playing banjos and harmonicas and violins and guitars and ukuleles, and it fucking rules. It's one of my favorite things that happens every year at Hibernia Park. And hey, we'll host a meetup next year, a Mutant Menace meetup at Old Fiddler's Picnic.
Are you just saying that to make this X-Men related?
Actually in Savior Game, we said that next year we would host a Savior Game meetup at the Mushroom Festival in Kennett Square. Near where I live and where Pat grew up, is a town called Kennett Square that is the largest producer of mushrooms in the world.
The fucking world.
And they have
everybody else's ass.
And they have a yearly mushroom festival where there's just like a bunch of food trucks and vendors and stuff that sell mushroom stuff.
It's mostly white button mushrooms. That's what they grow.
And me and Pushing Up Roses are going to host a meetup there. We'll do double duty. Pat, will you come?
Yeah, I'll absolutely
make it also
be there. I love the Mushroom Festival.
Our 2026, look up the Kennett Square Mushroom Festival. We will have a both Mutant Menace and Savior Game joint meetup.
Amazing. I've been meaning to join forces with your more successful podcast.
So that's what I did.
Well, if we're stretching, I went
stretching. What do you mean?
I went to a show last night. There's a podcast called Stradio Lab, and we're also a podcast, and we talk about the X-Men, which is how this is X-Men related. But Sam Taggart, George Severus, just two really funny stand-up comedians did sort of a joint stand-up tour. They came through. It was so good.
Yeah.
And speaking of comedy, I also watched the Las Culturistas Culture Awards hosted by the Las Culturistas podcast. This year, they made it onto streaming on Peacock, which is amazing. Hosted, of course, by Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang. Bowen Yang, rumored to be playing Wolverine in an upcoming movie.
Deep rumors. Yeah, deep rumor. Well, that's awesome. All these things, very X-Men related. The other thing, last thing I'll say, there's a 3-part, he talked about it on the show, Alex Goldman's podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Hyperfixed. He did a 3-part story, and this is why it's X-Men related, because Alex Goldman was on the podcast Mutant Menace, which is about the X-Men. He did a 3-part story on the illicit cat drug black market.
My God.
And it is fucking incredible. The third part just released today as of recording, and holy shit. As soon as this podcast is over in 2 hours, go listen to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had no idea.
It's great. Anyway, the last thing I did is that I read a comic called Uncanny X-Men number 14, Desolation. Pat, can I tell you all about it?
Well, now, how is that X-Men related, Matt?
So here's an interesting thing. Pat, they changed the ding-dang name of the dang comic.
What?
Used to be called the X-Men, or just X-Men. Now it's called Uncanny X-Men. The Uncanny X-Men.
I've heard of this.
It is written, plotted, and penciled by Chris Claremont and John Byrne. Inked by Terry Austin. Lettered by
Gene Simek.
Lettered by Gene Simek. Colored by Glynis Wein. Edited by Roger Stern. Editor-in-chief is Jim Shooter, who we don't talk about.
No thanks.
Release date, July 18th, 1978. Cover date, October 1978. Beast, icicles hanging from his fur, trudges through the Antarctic wastes, carrying an unconscious phoenix in his arms, when he sees a helicopter through the snowstorm. Needing some kind of flare, he wakes up Jean, and she transforms from weak and freezing with a torn-up costume to alive and intact, a giant flaming bird rising above her. Jean is desperate to free the rest of the X-Men from underneath the ground, but Hank grabs her and convinces her that no one could have survived the flood of lava, just as the helicopter closes in on them. Cut to the X-Men alive! And tunneling through a mountain of rock into the Savage Land.
Ooh, right, we're in Antarctica.
We find out that Storm created an ice storm to slow the lava, allowing Cyclops and Colossus to tunnel them out of harm's way, and that's why they're all still alive. Makes perfect sense, Pat.
Hell yeah. This is a perfect combination of the classic X-Men Scott tunneling with his laser beams and the new X-Men, Scott and Colossus punching and blasting through walls together.
And Storm creating an absolutely impossible weather condition. Like, where is she getting the moisture? How is she finding...
Right, she just drained all of the moisture out of the air.
Right, and how's she finding cool weather currents to create snow? But it's fine, she did it. Now, Banshee, attempting to free Storm from some of the trauma of being buried under the earth. Remember, because she's claustrophobic.
Right.
In case you don't remember, because they don't mention it every single issue. He suggests they take to the sky, which leads to him being grabbed by a giant pteranodon.
Oh, yeah, forgot those things are down here.
Colossus fastball specials Wolverine up into the air, where he kills a rare miracle of the natural world and frees Banshee. So much for him not killing things. Remember, he told Storm, he was like, oh, when I hunt, I don't kill.
Yeah,
I just touch them.
Everybody thinks I'm this big savage brute, and then he is the happiest he's ever been. Stabbing the shit out of this pterodon as it crashes into the ground.
The rest of the team catch up to him on the ground, and he and Cyclops bicker before Storm and Banshee lead them all south toward a village they spotted. All the while, a nude man is watching them with both recognition and disbelief, stating that their power is exactly what he needs.
Uh-oh.
We take a quick cut back to Westchester 1 week later, where Jean and Hank arrive back at the X-Mansion. Hank becomes acquainted with Lalandra. They hadn't met yet. Remember when he gets there, when they're all in the circus? They're all in Mesmero's circus, and there's a letter from Lalandra and Charles, and he's like, who the fuck is Lalandra?
Yeah. He looks so fucking sharp. He's wearing jeans and a button-up, and his full furry face is out. Wait, he's got a sharp sense of fashion. We knew that from the 60s, but
yeah, at
this point, we've seen him wearing sharp clothes as a furry beast in the Avengers, but this is the first time we're seeing it in the X-Men.
Yeah, he's got gray pants and an orange top with those Indiana Jones the pockets with the triangular cover over them.
I think those are jeans and a yellow shirt, Matt.
It's a gray pants and an orange shirt in my epic collection.
In your reprinted version.
Hank becomes acquainted with Lilandra, is my point.
Yeah, they know each other.
As Jean heads to see Professor Xavier, and they have a nice cry in the dark over the X-Men they assume are dead.
Yeah.
Back in the Savage Land, the X-Men are all shirtless. We don't have to argue about that. And they're hanging out with a native tribe. Kurt is teaching the children German. Sean appears to have just had some sex and is ruminating about Jean and Hank's assumed death. Scott is making plans to ship out, and Aurora is simply enjoying herself in nature, where she can be free and wear very few clothes.
Scott is leaning into vacation mode. He is finally had about 2 weeks uninterrupted on a vacation.
He's never had a vacation before. Yeah.
Like, this is all going to have to come to an end soon, so let's get some rest and relaxation in.
And let's remember that. Let's remember that a little later.
Yeah.
How into vacation he is and how much for weeks he's just been chilling in the sun. So Scott wanders off to shave in the river and think on his mistakes. And this is actually an interesting dialogue. I don't know what you thought about this, Pat, but he's thinking about how when they fought Magneto, he's like, I've been over this fight 1,000 times, but all things considered, we actually did really well. He's like pondering this idea of like, there's a nuance to it, right? Any other writer would have been like, we should have been working as a team. No matter what happened in the fight, they would have been like, we should have been working better as a team. I should have been. And he's like, I don't know what went wrong. We actually fought together really well, and somehow we still lost.
Yeah.
The nuance that Claremont gives that we just haven't seen in this comic book ever before.
That's not building to some sort of plot point. That's just where Scott's head is at right now, and shows the evolution of the team.
I'll tell you something else about Scott's head. He's thinking on his mistakes when he has a major revelation. A Major Summers revelation, if you will. Major Summers? Remember? He's wearing a bandage on his head that looks kind of like a headband, and he shaves down to just his mustache when he catches a look at his reflection in the water. And what's that? He looks kind of like Corsair! Not only that,
Major Summers is what Corsair goes by.
That's what Gene calls him because he was a major in the Air Force.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thank you.
Not only that, Corsair spoke English. They made a big fucking point to tell us that everybody spoke English. Corsair spoke English with a Nebraska twang, though. That's a fair point.
Okay.
And he called Cyclops Scott. How did he know his name was Scott?
Would you pick out a Nebraska accent?
No. What? No. As he ponders this, Aurora interrupts him, and he reveals that the grief he expected to feel for Jean just isn't there. She hasn't been the same since the shuttle crash.
No.
Yeah.
Storm gets a little judgmental here. She says, maybe the problem is that she grew up and you wanted her to stay a girl, and now she's a woman. And
she says bitch. She calls him a bitch. She says bitch.
I think
as she walks away.
I think this is a very real thing that happens to people, but this does not track with their relationship that we've witnessed.
Buddy, none of this tracks. None of this tracks at all.
Fair.
Cyclops hasn't been... He's felt distant from Jean, but he hasn't been, not in love with her. And I'll say this, it continues to not track. Because some of the most poignant love scenes between Scott and Jean are about to happen in the next 10 issues. This is absolutely absurd. I feel like there's a couple things that we're gonna talk about in these few issues that smack of this to me. Is that it feels like Claremont is
going through something.
Maybe it's a self-ins. But also it feels like Claremont is grasping around for character development with some of these characters. Like he can't quite figure out what to do with Scott. I feel the same about how he handles Colossus. He can't quite figure out how to handle Colossus.
No, you're wrong about that.
I'm right. Anyway, Storm walks away is my point. Meanwhile, Colossus is about to have a threesome with 2 of the native women. Just this infinite unicorn, right?
We are not exaggerating. There are 2 women telling him how handsome he is and saying, please come to our private island. It's not. The implication is there.
Exactly. And he invites Wolverine. I'm also not kidding about the Sean Cassidy having sex with one of them either. Not only is he, when we first see him, is he walking out of a hut in a loincloth with a woman looking lustfully at him. Really soon, in like a page, something happens and he is turning around with the woman right in front of him.
Yeah. They're not trying to hide it here.
No,
the
it
X-Men
is
have
Sean.
sex.
The X-Men are fucking like constantly. So Colossus, about to have a threesome, invites Wolverine along.
Oh.
But Wolverine is busy sewing and looking at his picture of Jean and grieving for her in the way that Scott wasn't.
It's clearly a picture of Jean that he had to tear Cyclops out of. It's half
Pat,
picture.
We watched him do that. Do you remember that? Yeah, we watched him tear Scott off that picture. I think it was in the Iron Fist issue. It wasn't even in X-Men.
Right.
So Aurora goes swimming in a nearby lake when the nude man sneaks up on her and grabs her by the head, apologizing as he only means to absorb a little energy to feed himself.
Oh no.
What, you think you know this guy? Because he's overwhelmed by a massive surge of energy, causing a lightning bolt to crash down. This is what interrupts all the X-Men and whatever they're doing, which it's Sean Cassidy and making out. Or fucking, we don't know at that moment. And who knows?
They don't even pan to Colossus because he is off on his own fuck island.
We don't see Colossus for a while. The X-Men rush to see what happened, and they see Aurora unconscious on the ground being towered over by the menacing form of Sauron!
No!
He's back, baby, to be continued. The opening shot of this comic is incredible. It is,
oh my God,
Beast just trudging through what looks like the harshest wind and snow, and he's covered. He doesn't even look blue. He looks white because he's so covered in just snow.
Like caked snow and ice forming around him.
The space between him and Jean, snow is piling up on her stomach. As if it's like gathering there from being blown there by the wind. It is unreal.
I will say,
it really shows you how good John Byrne is.
The narration doesn't quite meet the moment, because the last time we saw Beast and Jean, Beast was laying down on the ground preparing to freeze to death.
Yes.
The narration here says, yes, Beast was about to freeze to death, but then he got up.
It does, however, show the heroic nature of the Beast. Like, he will do literally anything for his friends. Even get up. Also, so right after that, Chris Claremont can't fucking help himself, dude. Right after that, he has to cut to the inside of a helicopter where they're using all sorts of helicopter slang. It's like, okay, just for once, even when they're in the Savage Land in a later issue, people will describe pterodon, like people riding pterodons, in Air Force terms.
Yeah,
he cannot help himself. Yeah, exactly.
And also, we learn that this is the U.S. Air Force piloting a helicopter in Antarctica.
Nothing weird about that.
What are they doing there? Is this the crew from The Thing?
They just escaped The Thing, and now they're like, oh, there's some people out here. Let's pick them up. They didn't learn their lesson, I guess. Oh, man. How do you feel about this issue?
I thought it was good. I thought, we really were left on the edge of a cliff, right? With the X-Men seemingly dead. We talked about this at the end of a couple episodes ago, but I didn't see a way out for the X-Men here.
Yeah.
Forgetting, of course, that they were in Antarctica, and if they could escape, that they would end up in the Savage Land. So it felt like a legitimate escape for them. It felt believable enough for them to have shown up, to have tunneled through enough to show up in a safe place, for lack of a better word.
That's one of my favorite parts about this podcast, is that you don't know what's coming up. So when we got to the end of that last episode, you were legitimately like, I don't know how they're going to get out of this one. That is cool. That is really cool.
It was cool. I also just like being back in the Savage Land. I think this is a very cool setting and not overused yet. I don't know if it does become overused at some point, but right now it is just like, oh yeah, there's also this very strange tropical prehistoric paradise that the X-Men end up in once in a while by accident.
There's a hilarious moment where right before Banshee gets grabbed by the Pteranodon, he's just flying, he's just enjoying himself, and he looks down and he's like, oh, looks like everyone's shouting at me. I guess I'll swing closer and see what's the matter. And they're all just shouting like, look behind you, there's a Pteranodon.
Like, oh, I wonder what that's all about.
We do have to talk about two things before we move on that we mentioned already, but they just have to be dwelt on a little bit. Number one, Cyclops discovers Corsair's dad because he kind of looks like him with a mustache.
It's not a good mustache either. He looks like shit when he shaves down to a mustache.
And he just looks and it's not even a picture of what Cyclops looks like with the headband and mustache on. It's just a picture of Corsair. And this is the big emotional moment where he's like, he's my dad. I guess he doesn't fully say it, but this is like the kernel of him realizing it.
Yeah.
Very funny. The other thing is that Wolverine, bisexual hero, turns down the chance to fuck Colossus and two women to just sew.
Well, he's grieving that. It's actually like emotionally, he's going through it. He's like, what's wrong with me? Why am I turning down this beautiful foursome I could be a part of?
I've always wanted to fuck Colossus. And there's two women there.
But the thing about him, so he's sewing up his costume. So we see him escape the volcano into the Savage Land, and he's got all these holes in his costume that you can imagine were burned in there by lava, and he's showing a lot of chest hair. I think it's awesome.
Bisexual hero Pat Reber.
And then 2 weeks pass by.
Pat Reber's, hold on, people don't know you. Yeah, Pat Reber's a straight man.
Oh yeah, I'm not.
I don't want that to be. Okay, go ahead.
But I am a hero to bisexuals.
All bisexuals say.
But 2 weeks pass, and now he's sewing up his costume. And his costume is what he's wearing. Has he just been wearing his chest hair forward costume for 2 weeks?
I think it's so funny. Everybody's wearing their undamaged pants and undamaged big ass boots
and no shirt.
And no shirt. And like, that's how we find them. That's how we find them all. And all except for Sean Cassidy, who has just gone full loincloth.
Yeah. And Storm, who has also just gone full loincloth and cape.
Yeah, and Sean Cassidy's just been fucking and fucking and fucking. And also, hey, I do want to say, not to spoil, but I'm going to spoil.
Yeah.
We have in textual evidence, textual confirmation that Colossus is fucking. It is not just us joking. Banshee, I guess we don't get evidence for it, but it's clear.
It's pretty heavily implied, yeah.
we have textual evidence eventually that Colossus is fucking.
All right. No spoilers, Matt.
Well, I already did. It's too late.
I want to mention one thing that I'm extremely tired of, and it's a thing that we just haven't broached in the past because it's come up and it seems like such a... I am extremely tired of people referring to Storm as that black woman.
Yeah.
And
yeah. There's nothing inherently offensive about calling somebody a black woman.
Right. And it's not like they're saying, oh, that black woman. They're saying that black. It's just a description of her, but she's the only person there. Like Sauron sees her walking through and says, oh, that black woman is perfect for my plan.
Yeah.
Why do you need to mention her race?
People don't even say that blue guy when they're talking about Nightcrawler. Right? Like, yeah. It seems almost like Chris Claremont is wrestling with that question that sometimes white people in very white societies wrestle with, which is how often do I refer, like, can I use it as a descriptor? And rather than only using it when appropriate, when you're trying to distinguish between two women standing next to each other who you don't have any other way of distinguishing between them, like, oh, the woman who just spoke, or, Janet, that you say, the black woman, right? It's almost like he's wrestling with that cultural question and choosing to express it on the page.
Yeah. And we'll learn a little more about Chris Claremont's choices in racial language as time goes on.
Yeah, he's very
opinionated.
He's very much attempting to be anti-racist, but he is falling short in many ways.
Can't wait. The only way for us to get there, though, Matt, is through Uncanny X-Men number 115, Visions of Death.
Whoa. That sounds like it's going to be a really exciting one.
Chris Claremont and John Byrne, Rabelasian raconteurs. Terry Austin, illuminate and inker. Rick Parker, loony letterer. Francois Mouly, crafty colorist. Roger Stern, edifying editor. And Jim Shooter, artist, editor-in-chief. How'd they get these silly credits past Chris Claremont, Matt?
Rabelasian. Oh, okay. Francois Rabelais was a French writer who has been called the first great French prose author.
Oh.
So they are like Rabelais.
Rabelasian.
Guess?
Release date August 15th, 1978. Cover date November 1978. After a brief one-page recap of last issue, we get a 2-page spread of Wolverine lashing out at Sauron over Storm's body. This heroic moment is underscored first by Scott telling him to stop, and second, the fact that he misses.
Yeah, it looks very heroic, but then you stop to think about it for a second, and you're like, oh, okay.
I believe this is our first X-Men 2-page spread, though, right? Like two full-page spread.
I don't think so, but I can't remember the last one, so I'll just say, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I found the first one. Sauron grabs Wolverine and rises up into the air. He stares into Wolverine's eyes, and the X-Man becomes hypnotized, suddenly seeing his teammates as hideous monsters. I forgot. This is the moment I remembered how silly Sauron is. He's the embodiment of evil, who is a pterodactyl that can hypnotize people and is sort of a vampire.
Why did they give him hypnotizing powers? Like, that's so strange.
They had to for it to work for the plot at the time, and now it's just
now it's there forever.
Wolverine becomes hypnotized, suddenly seeing his teammates as hideous monsters. Cyclops remembers the same thing happening to Angel the last time they met Sauron and instantly knocks Wolverine out with an optic blast. He's clearly been holding on to that one for a little while. And then tells Banshee to avoid eye contact with Sauron. Banshee takes to the air and sonic screams Sauron out of the sky into the brush.
All screams are sonic.
Meanwhile, Nightcrawler attempts to rouse Wolverine, who's lying face down in the water, only to be treated to a backhand as Logan wakes up, still hallucinating.
What? why did they leave Wolverine face down in the water?
Right.
And we watch Wolverine get hit by the bolt, and he lands on his back.
Yeah.
It's Scott Summers picked up his unconscious body, dragged it into the water, and left it face down, and then was like, we've got to keep going.
Still hallucinating, Wolverine attacks Cyclops, who he sees as a monster zapping Sauron, who he sees as Jean. With Cyclops on the ground, Wolverine starts to second-guess the situation, remembering that Jean is dead, and hesitates just long enough for Cyclops to blast him into the sky. Cyclops getting
This is like when Joff throws him into space.
Yeah. With that out of the way, Cyclops and Banshee form a pincher attack, slamming Sauron from both sides with their powers. Feeling that he's starting to change back to Karl Lycos, he takes off. Colossus, finally done with his threesome, I guess, finds Storm lying in the lake and is tending to her when Sauron sneaks up on him and starts to sap his energy as well. Scott arrives just in time and commands him to change into armored form, which allows Colossus to throw Sauron off. Unfortunately for Sauron, just as he lands beside Wolverine, he reverts back to Karl Lycos. Seconds before skewering the dude, Wolverine is stopped by Ka-Zar and Zabu.
Whoa! They're here! My guys!
Wolverine offers to kill them too. But Cyclops and Banshee arrive to stop the fight before it begins.
He's generous is the thing about Wolverine. Yeah, I'll kill you guys.
How mad do you think Ka-Zar is to see the X-Men back? Every time they show up, they throw a wrench in his plans.
Yeah.
And again, he's trying to organize a revolution.
And the last time he saw them, he was like, please don't come back.
Yeah, we're better. See you later. We're better off without you.
Exactly.
Remember not to come back to the Savage Land.
And now here they are. And he's like, fuck. Now they're going to kill my friend Karl?
A little while later, back at Ka-Zar's camp, the X-Men sit around a fire eating what look like mozzarella sticks, while Ka-Zar and Karl info dump. Karl tells them that the night they chased him to Tierra del Fuego and he threw himself off the cliff, rather than sap the life from his love Tanya, he actually only fell a few meters and hid on the side of a cliff.
Remember, they were like, we've looked and looked for him and we couldn't find him.
Yeah, he was just hiding on a cliff.
He's just standing there looking left and right.
6 feet down. He does make his way to the Savage Land, surviving on the life energy of small animals or something. But a few weeks ago, he happened upon some weird shit in the woods. A priestess named Zaladane was praying to a stone relief of someone called Garokk.
Pat, who's your favorite X-Man villain? I meant to ask you this at the beginning of the podcast.
Is it Zaladane or Garokk?
Is it Zaladane? Is it Garokk? Is it Moses Magnum? Who's your favorite guy? Is it AMAHL FAROUK? Who is your favorite X-Man villain? Because we got them all today.
Zaladane is a dead ringer for Lalandra, too. It looks like...
It looks like Lalandra with her hair down.
Yeah, it looks like an alternate take on Lalandra's initial design. Zaladane had a man chained to a slab and painted a fiery circle on his chest, and he transformed into some guy calling himself the Petrified Man. Zaladane pointed out some weird city in the middle of the Savage Land, and Garokk the Petrified Man zapped it with eye beams, and it disappeared.
What?
Now Ka-Zar takes over the story and tells the X-Men how he was riding a flying shark about to attack the weird city when all of it disappeared.
He was going to fight the city.
Yes, and
on a shark that flew.
Correct. But then suddenly all of it disappeared and he fell into the trees.
Okay.
The editor lets us know we can learn more about this in Ka-Zar issue number 20. No, thank you. I think I've learned enough. Karl and a bunch of other characters.
Wait, what characters? Who?
I don't know that. We're not following Ka-Zar. Found Ka-Zar, and they attacked some other big city that Garokk the Petrified Man built.
Huh?
Now...
Hold on. I want to try and get this straight. because this is so weird.
Yeah.
There was a magical city that appeared in the Savage Land, and Ka-Zar and his friends were fighting them on flying sharks.
Yes.
And Zaladane woke up Garokk to say, hey, this city shouldn't be here. I want you to get rid of it. And Garokk zapped it away, which also somehow zapped away the flying sharks. And then he was like, good, now that that's gone, we're going to make a big city that shouldn't be here. And now Ka-Zar's like, let's fight that city.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, perfect. All right, cool. We don't need to read Ka-Zar 20. Which, hold on.
Yeah, we learned a little something interesting about Ka-Zar 20, right?
Ka-Zar 20 is the last issue of Ka-Zar.
So
there's a good chance that Chris Claremont, and this is how I feel about this, and we'll talk about this at the end of next issue, but I feel like somebody said, hey, Chris, this month, you have to finish the Ka-Zar story.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't want to. And they were like, no, you have to. Sorry, buddy.
Why don't you finish the damn Ka-Zar story in Ka-Zar?
Sorry. Doug Mensch was writing that. Doug Mensch of Batman in the 1990s, I think.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Now,
back
to the story. Ka-Zar is saying that Garokk the Petrified Man is trying to bring all of the Savage Land into his oppressive new regime, and he needs the X-Men's help to stop it. Okay. Wolverine and Banshee are down, but Cyclops says no. Even though they've just been laying around for a week, Cyclops says that they must get to the professor at once in case Magneto is still at large.
Dude, you just literally said, oh, another week of rest and relaxation, Banshee. Yeah. This is fun. I'm having a good time.
Another week. So we know it's been at least 2 weeks. I think what happens here is that once he gets out of vacation mode, he's like, all right, back to priorities.
But this is like that meme it's not even a meme. It's like pre-memes was written on coffee cups and stuff. It's like your lack of planning does not
constitute an emergency on my part.
Just exactly. Yeah, yes. Yeah. That is what's happening. Even though Cyclops is like, I've been laying around for a week, so we have to go now. No. Why didn't we go a week ago, dude?
Ka-Zar agrees, and the next morning he's leading the X-Men out of the Savage Land. Colossus says goodbye to a woman named Nereel, and they take off.
Huh. A woman named Nereel, huh? That's interesting. Let's just keep that in mind.
Is it interesting? I just
it's interesting to me.
Funky name.
No, I think it's interesting that he's saying a woman. He's saying goodbye to a woman named Nereel, and that he may or may not have had a threesome with.
As they get to the river, which leads out of this Savage Land, snow starts to fall, and they begin to feel cold. They notice that the river is frozen.
What?
They are in Antarctica, but they're still in the Savage Land. It shouldn't be happening. Storm and Ka-Zar both note that snowfall shouldn't happen here, and if it continues, the entire Savage Land will die. To be continued.
What? You know, it can be fun visually to be in the Savage Land, but I don't love Savage Land stories. I find them a little boring.
Yeah, especially since it's always the X-Men just like stumbling into the middle of a story and then making that story worse.
And it's just Ka-Zar saying, hey, somebody's about to destroy the Savage Land, and you guys got to help us. And then like, okay, I guess let's go beat up somebody and then save the Savage Land. Like, no, okay.
What I do love is that when Cyclops says, we don't have time, there's no time to help the Savage Land people.
No time for that now.
Ka-Zar must internally be saying, thank God they don't want to stick around and help.
Like Providence demands that I ask for their help.
Right.
Because if the Savage Land gets destroyed and I didn't ask for their help, I'm going to feel like a complete shithead, and I'm going to feel like, what if they had stuck around? But if they say no, fucking Yahtzee, my dude. I'm so happy about this. Dude, Kurt Rupert.
Ooh.
there's a really great Kurt and Wolverine moment where, like, it's so clear that this is okay. Not only is it clear that John Byrne is horny for Wolverine, he loves Wolverine. He wants Wolverine to be in everything. Wolverine takes center stage at every moment he can, and he's also softening Wolverine.
Yeah,
and I wonder if it's against Claremont's initial designs, but then Claremont falls for it because he's making Wolverine smile and be gentle. And so then Claremont has to write dialogue that matches the image, right?
Yeah.
So there's a scene here where Nightcrawler throws a snowball at Wolverine, and in any other new X-Men comic so far, Wolverine would have been like, "I'm gonna kill you, you little elf."
Yeah.
But in this, he smiles and he's like, "You pick your snowdrift, I'll pick mine. Loser buys the beer."
Oh.
And he's wiping the snow off his smiling face. And it's like, oh, these guys are friends. And Wolverine is learning to soften up and be like a member of the team. And not only a member of the team, a member of the family.
Yeah,
he's also calling Cyclops boss man a lot more and just listening more. It's really interesting. I think this is where Wolverine goes. There's this sweet spot from about here to about, I don't know, 1980, 87, 89, where Wolverine is at his apex. He is such a great character. And then there's maybe 10 years where he is absolute garbage. But this is the beginning of that Wolverine sweet spot where he becomes literally one of my favorite X-Men characters. It's so because of how much he was part of that gritty, badass 90s.
Oh yeah, everything.
Comic book trend. Everything. Yes, exactly. Because he was such a big part of that, it's embarrassing to tell people that Wolverine's one of your favorite X-Men characters. But this is why Wolverine is one of my favorite X-Men characters.
Because of the next decade of X-Men comics.
Where he's this guy who has this capacity inside him to just go fucking nuts. But generally, he's this jovial, thoughtful guy full of experience and wisdom, and he spends all his time and effort just trying to control that savage part of himself and learn to love people.
I guess he really did need that vacation.
Pat, now I want to tell you.
Yeah, please.
For once, about Uncanny X-Men number 116, To Save the Savage Land.
Yes.
I've been trying to tell you about this for years.
Finally.
By Chris Claremont and John Byrne, with Terry Austin on inks, Tom Orzechowski on letters, Glynis Wein on colors, Roger Stern editing, and Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. Pat, who's Jim Shooter?
I'm not sure.
Release date, September 19th, 1978. Cover date, December 1978. Several days after the last issue, the Savage Land is covered in snow and ice, and the X-Men have finished a hike to Garokk the Petrified Man's, aka Garokk the Sun-God's, new futuristic-looking dome city. He and Zaladane, in an attempt to bring peace to the Savage Land, created an oppressive new metropolis and somehow have thrown off the ecological balance of the region. I guess we do figure that out by the end of the issue, but by now we don't. We're just told it happened. Kind of just like we're told, oh yeah, this is an oppressive thing and they got to get rid of it.
Yeah, let's hope they're right.
Some of Garokk the Petrified Man, aka Garokk the Sun-God's men, swoop down on pterosaurs and, after a really clumsy fight, capture Colossus, Banshee, Cyclops, and Ka-Zar, leaving Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler, and Zabu behind to rescue them.
Huh.
Bad plan. Wolverine even says, he's like, well, he'll be back. This is just all they could carry. He'll be back to get the rest of us. But you're just leaving other superpowered people there to rescue the guys you just, like...
Yeah. You got to take them all out in one swoop if you're going to beat the X-Men.
This is a stupid idea. All right, so Wolverine quickly tames Zabu and sends him back to Tonga's tribe for reinforcements, and then leads the other two down the cliff to the doors of the city.
It's so cool. Wolverine making friends with Zabu, the saber-toothed tiger.
Yes. He just instantly shows a kinship with the savage beast.
Yeah.
And then it's extra cool that then he just takes on the leader role immediately. Like, all right, I know what to do. Very good Wolverine. We might need a Logan report, Hogan. No.
A Logan... Wait, Logan's log.
Logan's log. Now that Logan's going to do cool things every issue. So he kills the door guard and they sneak in what appear to be like sewers or garbage or something. Like this whole city. This is one of my biggest problems with this issue. This whole city is completely ridiculous.
Yeah. I can't imagine this functioning like an actual city.
It's
mostly garbage chutes.
They never encounter another person. The weird corridors that they're walking through lead them right to the exact place they need to find the secret location they need to find. And there are dinosaurs in it. So they fight several sewer dinosaurs or whatever along the way. Super weird. So they eventually come to a big ritual space where all the X-Men are tied to poles on a big dais, and Garokk the Petrified Man, aka Garokk the Sun-God, and Zaladane are trying to burn Colossus in the center of it. This guy's supposed to be a god.
They've got other X-Men there that are very flammable.
Like, no, we want to burn the Metal Man first. And it's kind of cool. He's glowing red with the heat. And later he punches people, and like, imagine getting punched in the face by a glowing, hot metal fist.
I know. It's a very cool concept.
So Nightcrawler teleports farther than he ever has before and pulls the cover off of Cyclops' eyes. Because, of course, that's how they neutralize Cyclops, who blasts the pillar Colossus is tied to, who, literally glowing red from the heat, breaks his bonds and charges forward. Cyclops blasts the cover from Banshee's mouth, which, of course, that's how they neutralize him, and Storm swoops in to zap Cyclops and Ka-Zar's bonds. We don't see Ka-Zar being freed on panel. We just see Cyclops complain.
Yeah, we see Cyclops going like, I think you guys forgot to free me after I freed all of you?
And Ka-Zar, he's like, hey, also, can you free Ka-Zar? As patented X-Men chaos erupts, Garokk, the Petrified Man, aka Garokk the Sun-God, takes off running. Only Cyclops notices this and begins to follow him through the corridors of this weird city, which again, somehow then just like lead up to the ceiling, like the roof of the city. Yeah, I don't understand how
the top of the dome.
Garokk the Petrified Man, aka Garokk the Sun-God, thinks to himself that he expended too much energy making the city, and he's now no more powerful than a human. And he's attempting to make it to the city's power grid to re-energize. Cyclops, meanwhile, tells us that the reason for the cooling of the Savage Land is that the geothermal heat sink in the center of the region is being covered by the city and used as a power source. Thanks, Cyclops. I guess.
That makes sense.
Yeah, sure. The two men match blasts, finding themselves almost entirely equal as we cut back to the X-Men's big fight. Turns out, as Garokk the Petrified Man, aka Garokk the Sun-God, is draining the power from the city is starting to fall apart. Soon the X-Men see both Cyclops and Garokk the Petrified Man, aka Garokk the Sun-God, tumbling through the seemingly endless thermal shaft. Banshee manages to catch Cyclops, and Storm tries to save Garokk the Petrified Man, aka Garokk the Sun-God, but misses his hand by inches. As she escapes, the city crumbles and explodes around her.
Whew.
Storm is sad that she failed to save Garokk the Petrified Man, aka Garokk the Sun-God's life. 2 weeks later...
That's called a fortnight, Matt.
Oh, thanks. The river has thawed, and the X-Men take off on a boat into a massive storm to be continued.
What?
What?
Don't go into a storm.
They wanted to.
Why'd
you make the X-Men go into a storm? They wanted to. Sorry.
Quick Kurt report. He teleports up into the sky to fight a bird rider. It's fucking cool.
It's cool. Yeah. Another Wolverine-centric issue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There is a moment, though, where Wolverine gets his arm bit by, it looks like a velociraptor, although I think that's a creation of Jurassic Park, right? Some sort of tiny carnivorous dinosaur.
Yeah.
Just straight bites his arm from the fist down. And of course, Wolverine extends his claws through the back of his head and kills this little dinosaur. But Storm is like...
He loves doing it. He loves killing little dinosaurs.
Your arm is pretty fucked up. Like, should you stay back while we continue the mission? And he says, no, I heal real fast.
And he says, the beast ain't been born that can break my bones. So we know...
There it is, though.
Healing factor, yeah.
And he's like, he is unaffected by this dinosaur bite. It's finally...
We've got the Wolverine.
Said out loud.
He also talks about using his senses to track down the X-Men. He's
a lot. Yeah.
He's fully Wolverine now. There's a really Kurt Rupert. There's a really cool moment where Wolverine asks him to teleport that huge distance, and he thinks to himself. There's this awesome like dichotomy where he thinks to himself. He's like, I've never tried this. This could go really badly. But he says, "Watch me,
watch me."
It's so cool. Yeah.
Scott's eyes get covered by a visor here. Visor on top of his normal visor, which
of course,
is the expected plan. But did he not try slamming his head against a brick wall repeatedly?
He's tied to a vibranium pole.
Did he forget how well that works?
Just turn around, smash your face on the vibrating pole a few dozen times.
Maybe last time he did it, he hit his head so hard that he forgot that it's a viable solution.
Maybe that's why they didn't free him. They're like, oh, he'll just slam his head against his bonds a couple times and they'll break.
Very cool fight on top of that dome. I really appreciate Chris Claremont's taste for cool battle backgrounds.
Right.
The two of them on top of a giant dome city. And
with these like mountains in the background.
Blasts at each other.
Yeah.
Lighting up the sky. It's very cool. And I really only have one more thing about this. Garokk the Petrified Man, aka Garokk the Sun-God.
I wish we could have called him something else. Like that recap would have been so much shorter.
We're told that he is taking people from the Savage Land into his city, and if they don't, he's killing them.
Yeah.
They destroy the city. They take they crash the sky down onto the city. Did they kill thousands of Savage Landers?
It's so... Okay. This is why I'm saying Garokk's plan is so dumb, so poorly thought out. Oh my God, who was that? Yeah, that's weird that came out of that. Garokk the Petrified Man, aka Garokk the Sun-God. His plan is so dumb. He's so poorly defined. It's resolved so easily without any detail about the city, about how they navigate it, about... Like, there's no complications here. It's just, we get there, we free them, we win. Like, that it feels like Chris Claremont was told by some editor, Jim Shooter, whoever that is, hey, we just ended Ka-Zar, and since the X-Men have met Ka-Zar before, you have to do this story there. Or maybe... Chris Claremont meant them, like, he had the X-Men in Antarctica, maybe he was sending them to the Savage Land anyway, assuming they would just have, like, a little tie-in with Ka-Zar or whatever.
A crossover.
Or not even a crossover, just like, oh, and whatever's happening in Ka-Zar will reference it, but they'll just have a cute little adventure with Ka-Zar. Maybe they'll fight Sauron and then they'll go home. But Jim Shooter's like, oh, sorry, we just ended Ka-Zar. So if you put the X-Men in the Savage Land, you have to wrap up the Garokk story.
Right. It's kind of a, how could you come to the Savage Land without addressing this thing that we left hanging when we canceled Ka-Zar?
And he's like, I don't want to. I find this stupid. I find this boring. And they're like, sorry, man, you gotta. You put him in the Savage Land. Can't go back on it now. Because again, it's just so absolutely nothing, right?
Yeah. Somebody had to say, like, look, you got to finish Doug's story. He's a real mensch.
You idiot. You idiot.
Matt told me I wasn't allowed to tell that joke.
Right into Pat's email corner and said, hey, Pat, tell Matt that Pat's an idiot. I think, again, it's all so ill-defined. It's so poorly conceived, poorly executed. There's interesting character moments and there's interesting action moments here. Like there's good X-Men shit in here. But the plot here is as bad as any Roy Thomas original X-Men plot.
They do a great job of building up the mystery, and then there's just no satisfying reveal to it. It just kind of ends.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's all right. I'm glad we're done with it. We're moving past it. X-Men number 117, Psy-War.
Oh, man, I can't wait. Oh, my God.
Or PSI War. I don't know if they're referring to
like the
tire pressure here.
Oh, okay.
Chris Claremont and John Byrne, script, co-plots, and pencils. Terry Austin inks, Clem Robbins letters. Glynis Wein colors, Roger Stern editor, Jim Shooter editor-in-chief. Release date October 17th, 1978. Cover date January 1979. We find the X-Men right where we left them in Drake Pass of Cape Horn in the midst of the terrifying storm.
Oh, the Drake Pass of Cape Horn.
It's a real place, Matt. It is below South America. It's how you get if you're sailing down around the bottom of South America before they built the Panama Canal.
I just think it is named after Sir Francis Drake Pass. I think it's just funny how specific Chris Claremont always is about everything. Right. You know, like he can't just say like, they're caught in a storm. He's like, they're caught in the Drake Pass of Cape Horn, and the storm was actually a part of the El Nino weather pattern.
The storm is so great that even Aurora can only provide a slight cover by trying to calm it. Luckily, a Japanese Navy ship is passing by, and despite being on a sensitive government mission, the crew feels obligated to rescue the X-Men. They inform Scott that because of the sensitive nature of their mission, they'll all have to stay on board the ship until it reaches its destination. The X-Men are going to Japan.
The exact opposite direction. They are in South America, and now they need to be taken all the way to Asia.
Cut to Xavier Mansion, where Jean is saying her goodbyes to Lilandra, suitcase in hand. It's time for her to
drop them off in Chile, and they could catch a plane up north. Like, they couldn't just stop for a fucking second.
Well, it seems like they're on some sort of top secret mission, and they don't want to get to rescue stranded people at sea, but they can't like divert from their mission anymore.
Right. They don't want anyone to know they're in the Drake Pass by Tierra del Fuego of around Cape Horn.
Probably, yeah.
They couldn't have stopped at South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands. I'm looking at Google Maps right now. They couldn't have stopped at Hangaroa in the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, I am feeling a little Hangaroa. Let me stop by the Sandwich Islands.
I'm sure that is a little insensitive, but it's very good.
We're leaving it in.
Yeah, if you are a resident of Hangaroa on the Isla de Pascua or the Sandwich Islands and you're offended, right into Pat's email corner, mutantmenacepod@gmail.com.
Cut to Xavier Mansion, where Jean is saying her goodbyes to Lilandra, suitcase in hand. It's time for her to move on, and there are too many memories in this house that are now painful. Remember, she believes the X-Men are dead.
Yeah.
Lilandra Worrying about Charles mourning over the X-Men makes him a very nice breakfast of coffee and bagels and lox, but he refuses to eat it. This made me mad.
He says, no, I'm not hungry. Look, granted, he has every reason to be upset.
Yeah.
But he's being such a big baby. No, I don't want any.
And also she got bagels, cream cheese, lox. Yeah. She made him coffee. She was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try. It's a very sweet gesture.
He's like, I want pancakes.
And it sounds like a delicious breakfast. Xavier has taken on the burden of the X-Men's deaths, having formed and led the team himself, and he's not entirely wrong for feeling that way.
Yeah, no.
He stares into the distance, telling us
constantly getting X-Men killed. Like, this is not every single time he's like, oh, I can't believe I got the X-Men killed, and then he does the exact same thing. Yeah. Like, turns out they didn't die, and he's like, oh, thank God. All right, I have another insanely dangerous mission for you to go on. Oh no, they got killed.
I'll never do this again.
Yes, you will. You will tomorrow. I guarantee it.
Not this time, Matt. This time he stares into the distance, telling us that he just keeps going back to the beginning. Flashback to Xavier's postgrad, where he and Moira McTaggart were in love and set to be married before he was drafted into the Korean War. Despite promising to wait for him to return during the war.
Now it's like the Iraq War, though, right? Or maybe even now it's like
scaled up. It would be if it's 1978, the Korean War was like the mid 50s. So yeah, it would have been.
So if we go 20 years
around the early aughts,
the quote unquote war on terror.
Which is where they would have found the cave of Sidorak.
so wild. And, you know, like all the soldiers in the war on terror, he would have turned into an alt-right guy who's really obsessed with World of Warcraft. And that would have been a very different Professor X.
Despite promising to wait for him to return, during the war, Charles received a letter from Moira breaking things off and asking him not to follow her.
Right after his stepbrothers died, too. Bad year for Charlie Xavier.
Yeah, sure. Heartbroken, he bums around the Mediterranean for a few years before moving on to Cairo and dressing like a Crocodile Dundee villain. He's pickpocketed by Aurora in her childhood thief days. But this isn't relevant to the story at all. It's just an incredible coincidence.
Yeah, let's not pass over this. He gets pickpocketed by a little girl. Turns out it's Storm.
But in chasing her down the street to get his wallet back, he senses a dark, powerful presence firing psychic warning shots at him and follows that feeling into a sketchy, tense lounge. He takes a seat, declines any table service, and waits quietly. It's actually pretty badass, man.
It's pretty cool. This scene actually rules. And I do think, this just struck me, I do think that him running into Aurora is plot relevant. And I'll explain why later.
All right. I don't believe you. But
okay.
Out walks an Egyptian man looking like Wilson Fisk in a fez and extremely cool tiny sunglasses.
If Wilson Fisk was legitimately very fat. Right, like they've gone out of their way to say he's actually not fat. He's actually got a just weird musculature.
Right, except for Spider-Man, who
calls him fat all the time. Yeah,
continues to call him fat. To
this this guy's got like rolls of fat, like dripping off of his collar.
But it's packed into a very nice suit, and he's got a big, bald, shiny head. He looks a lot like Wilson Fisk, just with a fez on. And again, I can't express enough how cool these tiny sunglasses look.
They're so little.
The psychic conversation begins immediately. The large man introduces himself as AMAHL FAROUK, acknowledges Xavier's immense psychic power, and offers him riches and pleasure if Charles will come work for his crime syndicate. Xavier stands on his principles, and the two prepare for psychic battle. The battle unfolds like this. Both men present their astral forms, Farouk's being much larger and more muscular than his physical form. Immediately, Farouk twists reality around them, and they find themselves battling on a golden platform against a cosmic backdrop.
Nude.
Charles notes they are fairly nude. Charles, their astral forms are nude. Charles notes that Farouk must be powerful to bring up this illusion while preparing for psychic battle, and feels a fear he hasn't felt since his first patrol in Korea. Farouk sees this hesitation and takes the opportunity to transform into a warrior form and strike. Charles is able to pull up psychic armor to protect himself, but he's on the defensive and knows he's outmatched here. Farouk transforms into a beefy demon who can blast beams from his hand and gets a clean shot at Xavier's back. Back in the lounge, the two men sit silent, but a sear appears on the back of Charles' shirt where the blast hit him. When Farouk transforms into a massive cosmic beast, though, Xavier realizes he's been fighting in Farouk's terms. Farouk is very skilled with illusion, but ultimately, it's raw power that wins psychic battles. He focuses all his mental energy, allows Farouk to pull him close, where he, and I'll quote him here, focused my mutant power into a beam of incredible strength and shot it into Farouk's brain like a laser. Back in the diner, we see 3 panoramic panels. 1, the two men sit still and silent in the lounge. 2, as Xavier rises from his table, Farouk's head drops with a powerful thud onto his own table. And 3, Farouk's servants rush to check on him as Xavier puts his hat on and leaves.
With the char still on his back, too. And he's
yeah.
The next panel, he like reaches around and he's in pain. He's like they don't ignore it, which is, I think, cool. A cool little John Byrne touch.
Yeah. Back to the present, Xavier reflects on how this kicked his life's purpose into action, leading him to eventually found the X-Men, and in his mind, eventually get them all killed. Lilandra makes an intriguing offer. It's time for her to return to her empire to rule it, and Charles can join her.
The paperwork is done.
I guess. With nothing left for him here on Earth, he agrees to join her. In an epilogue, we see Jean at the airport ready to return home when she runs into Misty Knight. Misty's on her way to Japan to help Colleen Wing on a job. Jean waves goodbye and realizes that she's alone.
Yeah, for the first time in her life.
Yeah.
Even when she was in college, she had fucking dipshit Ted Roberts.
She is going back to her parents' place.
Yeah, that's true.
But for the duration of this flight, she's alone. Or actually, maybe I guess we don't know where she's going, and the next time we see her.
We do know where she's going eventually. We find out. Yeah, next time we see her, we find out where she was.
Matt, now, I have never seen this man in comics before, AMAHL FAROUK.
Really?
I do know him as one of the driving villainous forces in Legion.
Did he look like this in Legion? Or was his just name is AMAHL FAROUK?
His name is AMAHL FAROUK, and he does not look like this, but his like weird psychic form kind of looks like this man if he melted.
Okay.
Anyway, I recognized this name and I said, holy shit, because I know from the 3 out of 4 seasons of Legion that I watched that this guy's a fucking maniac.
This guy ends up being a pretty big deal.
Oh.
We will see him next in the New Mutants.
Nice.
And then we will see him much later in the X-Men, where he will be... it's really disappointing. He will be part of a major Chris Claremont storyline that fizzles out when the editorial direction changes.
Okay.
But then he will be a big part of X-Men Forever onward. So we will see. So yeah, we'll get plenty of AMAHL FAROUK.
I can't wait. He is legitimately terrifying in that show, and I would love to see the inspiration for that.
Unless I misunderstand, there's something I might be misunderstanding, but he might live in Psylocke's eye for a little while.
Okay, I believe you. I thought this whole thing was fucking cool. I think the beginning where the X-Men are navigating a storm is a little silly, but this is the first time I saw a psychic battle and felt the stakes of it. and like the way that they keep flashing back and forth between reality and the battle in their minds.
This scene in the diner and Farouk collapsing on a table is so sort of iconic and repeated so many times through X-Men history. I had to look it up. I thought we had already encountered this man.
Oh.
We hadn't.
No.
This is his first appearance, but it was, this scene is so cool.
A heavily referenced 3-panel series.
Yes. And it rules. Like, it just sticks in your head forever. Once you read these 3 panels, you never forget them.
Yeah. It's so cool.
We'll have to post them on Instagram. It's so funny that this era of Professor X's life, he's just walking around the world collecting arch-nemesis like friendship bracelets at a fucking Taylor Swift concert. He's like wandering around. He's like, Magneto. Oh, me and Magneto, we were best friends, but then something happened, and now he's my archenemy. Oh, and me and AMAHL FAROUK,
met once in Egypt.
Well, now we're the biggest. Now we're absolute arch nemesis. Oh, this one time I was freeing a small South African nation from an oppressive government. Nah, me and Lucifer are arch nemesis.
Mortal enemies now.
Oh, yeah, and then me and my stepbrother, we were fighting in the Korean War together, and I left him in a temple, and now we're arch nemesis forever. Just like non-stop in this era, and this is what the X-Men are constantly struggling against. The fact that for 10 years a depressed Charles Xavier wandered around the world making enemies, and now they have to put up with it forever.
He even at the end of the flashback, he's like, and then I went on to fight Lucifer and lost the use of my legs, and then I formed the X-Men, and that's why I'm sad.
Exactly. And again, it's just half of the people the X-Men have fought have just been people that...
Almost as if he formed a team of superhumans to protect him from all of his mortal enemies in life.
Man, one of my favorite lines earlier in this is when they're in the storm, in Drake Passage on Cape Horn.
Yeah.
They're in the storm, and Banshee goes, "Me sonic scream is near useless in this bada blow." In this bada blow, Pat? In this bada blow. In this bada blow, his sonic scream is near you.
This bada blow.
In most blows, his sonic scream works, but in this bada blow, his sonic scream's useless.
That must be one bad blow.
Before we move on to the next issue, I did a little Googling.
Oh, boy.
Isla de Pascua is also called Rapa Nui, also known as Easter Island. So, little embarrassing that we pretended like it was something really obscure. No one knew about it.
That's fair. We've come full circle, though. We're embarrassed.
My last bit is they speak French a little bit in this issue, and I looked that up too because I was interested why, because they're in Egypt, and apparently for about 100 years from the early 1800s to the early 1900s, French was a major language in Egypt, especially the major cities, because of British influence.
British influence, like colonization, or
the
world opening up a bit?
When the British were colonizing all over the place, high-class English people would often learn French as like a status symbol. And so it sort of became the way that Britain communicated with its colonies. And so a lot of colonial spaces, like the way that the British would speak with foreigners was through French. And so that's why Professor X orders his coffee in French in this little Cairo coffee shop. Uncanny X-Men number 118.
Wait. I want to comment on one thing.
Okay.
As they are navigating the Drake Pass, Wolverine, somebody is like, well, couldn't Storm just control the Storm with her powers. And Wolverine's like, I don't think you understand. He lists off a bunch of facts about what you have to do to navigate the Drake Pass. The fuck do you know about this, Wolverine?
He's one of those guys.
He's done it before. Yeah.
He's one of those guys, like one of your friends who just has to know everything about everything. And he's like, oh, in this bad a blow? Storm can't do anything. Uncanny X-Men number 118, The Submergence of Japan. By Chris Claremont and John Byrne, with Rick Villamonte as the guest inker. Tom Orzakowski as the letterer, Glynis Ween as the colorist, Roger Stern is our editor, and some guy named Jim Shooter is the editor-in-chief.
Dork.
Release date, November 14th, 1978. Cover date, February 1979. After an enjoyable 6-week journey on the Japanese Navy ship, the X-Men...
another 6 weeks, Matt. So much time is passing.
Yeah, now we're at, 2-3 months since the X-Men have been gone? The X-Men are finally arriving in Aragashima, Honshu, Japan. But it's not a pleasant scene.
Oh.
The city is aflame after an earthquake. The X-Men rush to shore to help and try to find a way to contact Professor X.
Quick Kurt report here, Matt.
Yeah.
Kurt is able to teleport to the docks ahead of the rest of the gang, noting that after Scott's training on the ship over the last 6 weeks, he can teleport further than ever before without even getting tired.
Yeah, that's
more powerful.
Wolverine finds a newspaper, and to everyone's surprise, he can read Japanese.
Whoa.
This is great. This is the second time this scene has happened. Remember when he and Banshee and Jean were in Stephen Lang's base, and Banshee said, "You never told us those claws came right out of your arms." And he's like, "You never asked."
Yeah.
And now it is, "Hey, you never told us you read Japanese." Well, you never asked.
It's very good. He's got a sly little smile on his face about it.
Here's a funny thing, though. Cyclops says, "Well, next time, I'll make sure I know better." And yet still, nobody asks him about his fucking name.
Nobody says, by the way, what's your name?
By the way, we don't know your name. He explains that there was a full evacuation of the city because the government had advanced knowledge that an earthquake was coming. I don't know. Seems unbelievable, but hey, Wolverine's just reading the news. Can't blame him. We make a quick trip to space where we see Lilander's ship leaving Earth's orbit while she and Xavier make out on board.
Ooh.
Back in Japan, the X-Men have gotten into costume and snuck up to the Yoshida ancestral manor, hoping to find Sunfire and get his help. And instead of just, walking up to the door.
Yeah, he probably remembers us.
They've been spending too much time with Peter Corbeau. They're like climbing over the wall. They're getting nude. So they're there to get Sunfire's help, but the compound is on lockdown. And while they can sneak by the military guard, Sunfire spots them and confronts them. He knows the X-Men, but clearly things are tense around here, and he doesn't like that they were sneaking into his home. Luckily, Misty freaking Knight is here.
Yes.
And pulls rank on behalf of the Prime Minister on Sunfire. Damn. The X-Men are pulled in to help. Cut to the alley behind this compound where a sinister truck is driven by sinister characters starts activating a sinister assault force.
There's one alley they forgot to set up a military patrol on.
They strike at midnight. Sunfire and Colleen Wing argue about how to handle a threat with some high-up Japanese officials. They're arguing in Japanese, though, so Cyclops can't understand it. He just wanders away. Yeah, exactly. He just walks out. He just wanders away, and Colleen Wing is like, "Oh, that guy's hot." Like, there's no point in any of these panels. We learn that the earthquake was indeed planned, and the government had been given the exact date and time it would occur. Sunfire feels he can handle the threat on his own, but no one else agrees with him. It seems like
he's the only one that feels this way.
It seems like a big part of Sunfire's life, right?
Yeah.
Misty calls home, and we find out that she and Iron Fist are back together. We wouldn't know. We're not following Iron Fist. When she's done on the phone, she hands it to Scott to call Xavier, but the number has been disconnected. Back outside, we see the same sinister actors unloading battlesuits that can, quote, pulverize any mutant scum. Back in the compound, Wolverine meets Sunfire's sister, Mariko, has a pleasant conversation with her in Japanese, and notes how beautiful she is.
Seems like he's moving on.
But before he can do anything about it, what did you mean by that, Pat?
From Jean?
No, when you wrote, but before he can do anything about it.
About how beautiful she is.
What would he do about it?
Mention it to her? Come on to her?
Okay.
What do you tell me what you were thinking of it?
No, it just seems like you were suggesting some sort of action. Like he would do.
That would be in action.
Okay. All right.
What kind of action are you thinking about, Matt?
No, if that's all you meant.
What popped into your head?
If that's all you meant.
When you heard saw a beautiful woman and wanted to take action.
If that's all you meant, noting how beautiful she is, but before he can do anything about it, if that's all you meant, then that's fine. Yeah. Anyway, another earthquake strikes is the point. As the compound collapses around them, in walks the Mandroids! All right.
It's the funniest name in comics.
They also
look out. It's a Mandroid.
They also just look so stupid. They're sent
like big cylinders with arms.
They've been sent by their boss to bring back. It'd be like if you wore a balloon. You would look like a Mandroid. They've been sent by their boss to bring back the government officials, dead or alive. They immediately take out Sunfire, but seem
turns out he couldn't handle them alone.
But seem entirely unprepared for the X-Men as they get fucked up in short order. The X-Men help Sunfire and co. start cleaning up the damage when a hologram starts broadcasting from one of the defunct Mandroid costumes. A man in a space suit with a goatee, afro, and receding hairline appears, calling himself Moses Magnum, master of the Magnum Force. He demands to be named ruler of Japan or he'll sink the entire country. To be continued.
He'll sink the entire country of Japan.
Look, Moses Magnum of the Magnum Force is going to sink the country of Japan.
The Magnum Force is a new one.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Moses Magnum, Matt?
This is the only place in which I've become familiar with Moses Magnum.
I have seen him once before in Power Man Annual #1.
Okay.
He comes from in this next issue we're about to read. This is his next appearance after that. It's not great.
He's not interesting. I constantly, in my memory, confused him with Count Nefaria for a long time. I just was like, oh, it's that guy who I guess they fought. I think it's that guy they fought way back when it was the original 5. And I just assumed Moses Magnum and Count Nefaria were the same guy.
Yeah, kind of interchangeable.
Yeah, they're just a nobody thing. Like, okay, oh, crime guy who has a plan.
Crime guy.
Mariko Yashida is here. Mariko Yashida!
Yeah, that's a name I recognize.
Yeah, she's going to be a big part of Wolverine's story forever.
Mariko. It's in the animated series. He's always longing for Mariko.
There's another sequence of Colossus. We didn't really talk about it yet, did we? There's this subplot. I guess he talks about it a little more in the next issue, but there's this subplot where Colossus is like, "Oh, I'm so useless."
Oh, all right.
He's like, "Oh, I keep getting into fights and getting knocked out right away. The X-Men could really get along without me." In this one, though, he gets like blasted into the air and lands on the street in like a little hole. And while the bad guys are getting away, there's this super fucking cool panel of their truck driving over the hole that Colossus landed in, and a silent panel of just his fucking hands sticking out of the ground. And then the next panel is he has ripped out the entire suspension from the truck, and it just goes crashing to the ground. It's so cool.
It is, Matt, I don't think you're given it's not a subplot. It is a character moment where
I don't fucking buy it.
Colossus is just, he's got imposter syndrome about being an X-Man. Like, everybody thinks he's the most powerful X-Man. Every time he gets defeated, he questions if that's really the case. I think that's extremely relatable. And again, probably something that Chris Claremont is going through at the time.
My feeling about it is like, Colossus is fine just being a chill, zen kind of guy who misses home a little bit, loves his friends, and doesn't think too deeply about stuff. But it feels like Chris Claremont's like, well, everybody has to have these little arcs. Every character has to have these bits of conflict that they're really struggling with. And what's Colossus's? Maybe he's like, oh, I'm not helping the team enough. I don't know. Sure, that works.
I guess I just like characters with depth, but that's
this
me.
Is not depth. This is so.
We got to talk about the Banshee Cyclops plan that apparently they thought of before this, but where Cyclops is, I guess, blinking his eyes to send out a syncopated blast. Banshee, from the other side of this mandroid,
Plan S, Syncopation,
screaming. Well, now that Scott's naming the plans, it's probably Plan Gemini. Banshee, from the other side of the mandroid, screams in a frequency that matches the syncopation of Cyclops' blasts, which causes so much molecular distress. They say molecular distress on the costume that it just shatters into bits. So, number one, I don't understand why they broke this. I think I'm on the same page with you as I don't, but where did they even get this idea?
Like, in case we're ever fighting a thing called a mandroid, I have the best idea, and let's practice it a few hundred times.
Yes, but I also mean, where did Chris Claremont get this idea? Or John Byrne, that you can just... I get that there are frequencies that can create some sort of enough tension and vibration that it can cause a piece of glass to break, right?
Yeah.
But that's not what they're doing here.
No. The way I feel like it is still Chris Claremont saying, in what way, and I think he does it more successfully next issue, but he's still doing the same thing he was doing way back at the beginning of his run, where he's just trying to go, in what ways can I combine all the X-Men's powers to have them pull off some feat that they couldn't do on their own? Yeah.
It is a great way to have them work together, for sure.
But he hasn't quite nailed it yet. Like you're saying, like, it's just, he has to come up with some nonsense. It is better than all of us shoot one of us, and that supercharges that guy, and then he blasts the air. He blasts up into the sky, and then we got it.
Someday it'll make sense. But once again, we can't get to it making sense without getting through Uncanny X-Men number 119.
Yes!
'Twas the night before Christmas.
I love a good Christmas episode.
Chris Claremont.
That's what this is going to be, right?
The night before Christmas, Matt.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Chris Claremont, John Byrne, author, co-plotters, and penciler, respectively. Terry Austin, inker, Costanza, letters, G. Ween, colors, R. Stern, editor, J. Shooter, ed-in-chief. Release date, December 12th, 1978. Cover date, March 1979. We open on Storm carrying Nightcrawler through the sky. They've got a plan so crazy it just might work. Kurt is dropped from the sky over a remote island complex and teleports his way onto the roof, slips inside, and takes out a guard.
Fuck yeah.
He reflects on how he ended up here. Flashback to a few hours ago, where a Japanese military man is explaining to the X-Men that they're Japan's last hope to stop Moses Magnum before he sinks Japan into the ocean. He also explains that this is scientifically possible.
Oh, okay. Just in case you had doubts.
Back to the present, Kurt gives the signal to Misty Knight that he's in, and the X-Men mount their attack. Banshee wreaks havoc on the complex's radar with his sonic scream.
All screams are sonic.
Kurt sneaks by the guards into the basement to get to the next step of the plan. Storm brings a hailstorm through the halls to clear out security. Banshee reflects on the sound of their sonic cannon back to its operators, rendering
all cannons are sonic.
Yes.
Wait, no, that's not true.
Cyclops, Sunfire, Colossus, and Wolverine are all tunneling into the complex in scuba gear, having entered through the sea. This is classic X-Men, but they're doing it underwater this time.
And this is finally exactly what I was just talking about. Everybody's using their powers in these unique ways, and it like works. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Nightcrawler in the control center sets off a homing device, allowing Cyclops to pinpoint that control center and tunnel blast his way in. A beam shoots through the floor, and out pops up the head of Colossus.
Yes!
But where is Nightcrawler? Colossus asks, just as he's punched in the back of the head by Moses Magnum. He saw the X-Men.
What a dipshit.
He saw the X-Men coming, has already incapacitated Kurt, and is ready to take out the rest of the X-Men.
Yeah.
Colossus goes flying, having to stop himself from falling off the island altogether, and does reflect on how frequently he's lost fights recently. He's supposed to be the strongest X-Man.
Yeah. Sure.
Inside, everyone's trying to blast each other, and Moses Magnum displays his power by knocking out Wolverine with one cold backhand. Cyclops sends Sunfire to blast his way out the roof and bring in Banshee and Storm. But at that very moment, Magnum brings out his Mark II mandroids to face Scott alone.
Not the Mark IIs!
But Scott's not actually alone. Colossus walks back in through the hole in the wall he was punched through and makes fools of the mandroids. Sensing defeat, Magnum runs out of the room to follow up on his ultimatum. Japan must be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
As he runs, he reminisces about how he acquired this new power to create earthquakes at will, I think. It happened when his laser beam, his exotic combat suit, and the elemental force of an earthquake combined to imbue him with more power instead of killing him. It's really not important.
So, yeah, I mean, that's basically what they're saying, right? Is don't think too hard about this. He has power now.
He does earthquakes.
But somebody will eventually say to themselves, oh, that didn't make any sense, did it? And come up with a new explanation. It's in this classic. It's in the classic X-Men that this gets reprinted in. And they'll come up with a new explanation for how Moses Magnum has this power. And it's almost stupider. It's almost stupider than this.
Well, I don't know, Matt. We're not following classic X-Men. With Magnum locked into his earthquake chamber, Banshee comes up with a plan. He tells Scott to get the whole team off the island and flies outside to try to match Magnum's earthquake energy beam with the energy of his own screams. An intense power battle ensues, resulting in an energy feedback that blows up the entire island.
Damn.
Misty Knight shows up to rescue the X-Men, and we see that Banshee is in bad shape after all that screaming. 10 days later, we see Sean leaving the hospital, a bit disappointed that no one visited him the whole time in a hospital in a foreign country. Not one X-Man.
He does say they apparently were there the whole time that he was unconscious. But since he's woken up, he hasn't seen anybody.
He reflects on how he might be too old for this X-Men business anyway, and yearns for Moira when he's surprised when he enters his room by an X-Men Christmas party.
Whoa.
They do love him after all.
Or they were just already having a Christmas party and they were like, and the hospital called and they were like, oh, your friend woke up. And they were like, oh, quick, somebody paint Merry Christmas Sean on a
Banshee.
banner. Yeah. It isn't a welcome back Banshee party. It is a Christmas party with a Christmas tree on Christmas. And anyway.
We get a nice couple of party pages. Scott and Sunfire give Sean a warm welcome. Mm-hmm. Wolverine goes to make his move on Mariko. Storm reflects on how this feels like a family now.
What do you mean by make his move?
He's going to talk to her and try to. What do you think I mean?
No, I didn't know what you meant. You said he was going to make his move.
When you go to make your move? Matt?
You said he was going to go make his move, like he was going to go perform some sort of action. So I thought maybe you were talking.
He is going to perform an action. He's probably going to chat with her and flirt with her a little bit.
Oh, okay, all right. No, that's fine. If that's what you meant.
Would do in that situation?
If that's exactly what you meant, that's
exactly
fine.
what I meant.
Okay.
Storm reflects on how this feels like a family now and expresses her love for Kurt with a kiss on the cheek before going out and chatting with Peter on the balcony. Peter expresses that he loves the X-Men like his family, but unlike most of the X-Men, he does have a real family as well, and he misses them very much.
That's an organic character conflict. That is organically part of his story. Oh yeah, I miss my family. It's hard to be sinking into a new family and spending so much time far away from my home. Like that is where Colossus's inner tension exists. Not.
I thought it was a little forced.
Fuck off.
No, it's a very sweet and tender moment. It's also very sweet when Storm kisses Kurt on the cheek and he gets just the most delighted look on his face. He's got this jolliness in his eye. It's really it's all very cute. They're
very cute.
They're happy. They're enjoying a party together. It's really, and this is the end of the story, so we know that they just get to be happy for a little while and party together at Christmas. Cut to Edinburgh, Scotland, where Jean gets another epilogue. She hops off a train and is welcomed by Moira, Alex, Lorna, and even Jamie Madrox. It's still Christmas.
We know where they've been.
Yeah.
They tried to join the Defenders. They fought the Living Monolith. Then they tried to join the Defenders for a little bit. And now they are meeting Jean.
It seems like they've just been hanging out on Muir Island, which is
so glad that
a mutant can get a job.
So glad that we know what they were up to during this time.
It's still Christmas, and they'll all celebrate the holidays together in Scotland before they head off to Muir Island. It seems like this is Jean's new future as well. Then we cut to Muir Island, dark and desolate, with a salty old fisherman creeping around the grounds. It's Angus McWhorter, Matt. You remember Angus McWhorter?
Angus McWhorter is back!
This is the man that the X-Men stole a hovercraft from and then destroyed.
Angus McWhorter, innocent.
He is feeling cheated by the X-Men still. His solution, blow up the Muir Island facility and anyone inside. But
all right, maybe not so innocent.
That's a terrorist act. But as soon as he gains access and creeps past the Mutant X store we saw several issues and 2 Magneto battles ago, he catches sight of something awful screeching at him, "Human, I need you." The narrator lets us know that Angus doesn't even have time to scream as he meets his fate. The end.
Oof. Yeah, that's an X-Men issue.
It's a nice X-Men issue. They get a little fight in, and then they do a lot of socializing, and then there's somebody gets murdered at the end.
How do you like Moses Magnum? At the first sign of any attack, Pat, he's going to trigger his Magnum Force.
Which his name was already Moses Magnum, but this is a new power for him.
Hey,
He's
don't
just
make
calling
me
it the
trigger
Magnum Force.
my Magnum Force.
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean? He would trigger the power that he has that he calls the Magnum Force.
Okay. There's some really powerful art by John Byrne here showing Banshee exerting his powers, like pushing himself to his absolute limit. There's a really good head-to-head panel where Moses Malone is on one side,
Moses
close
Magnum.
up. Moses Magnum is on one side. It's a close-up of him, like clearly exerting all his energy. You can see it in his face. And then the other side is Banshee doing the same thing, exerting all his energy. You can see it in his face. And then it becomes so fucking funny when you remember that he is also screaming at the top of his lungs.
It is just, yeah, he's like, as he's, you just keep having to remember, when he's flying around, everyone's just hearing, ah!
He looks like he's lifting 500 pounds, right? Like an adrenaline-struck man doing everything within his physical limits, but also at the same time, he's going, ah!
You can already kind of see in that sequence, though, the cracks forming between John Byrne and Chris Claremont, because Byrne draws all the X-Men covering their ears, right?
Yes.
And he does a very funny Colossus plugging his ears with one finger each. And they're like straining because they're covering their ears, but it's not really keeping the sound out, and they're tortured. And then Chris Claremont writes, the sound's so high-pitched, no one can hear it. What the fuck? Man, John Byrne had to be reading it and then threw the fucking comic across the room.
Yeah.
I just drew 7 panels of people covering their ears.
Kurt Rupert.
Ooh.
We see the return of his secondary power twice. He turns invisible in the shadows.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this.
Might be the last time he ever does it.
because yeah, it's not going to come back, and why on earth did they give him this power? And I realized it's because they named him Nightcrawler and then said, what is it that he does that's Nightcrawly? So instead, they just gave him the power of being able to crawl around in the dark.
In the night.
He's not a worm.
He's very unworm-like, I would actually say.
Yeah, what else is Nightcrawly? I have one more note about this issue, and please. I think I should get a no prize for it.
Okay.
The title of this issue is "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Mm-hmm. But we actually skip straight from December 15th to Christmas Day. We never actually see the night before Christmas.
Email us, mutantmenacepod@gmail.com, and give Pat his no prize.
Thank you.
Well, Pat.
Wait.
Are you excited about Angus McWhorter and Mutant X?
Well, Angus McWhorter is dead, I assume.
Yeah, maybe.
That's the end of him.
Maybe.
And it might be Mutant X. He walks by the Mutant X door, but this is Muir Island. There could be any number of threats.
There could be a ton of mutants.
But yeah, I imagine
there could be mutants.
Mutant X for a reason.
There could be mutants A through Y. No.
Yeah, you fucked that one up. One last thought on this issue. Have Scott and Misty not chatted about the fact that Misty saw Jean at the airport?
This drives me fucking crazy because, you can suspend your disbelief a little bit. Like, okay, Misty Knight sees Jean and says, hey, hope Scott's okay. And Jean, not wanting to get into it, says like, oh, thanks.
Right. And then she runs into the X-Men in the heat of battle, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on, so she has no reason to assume that Scott would think that Jean is dead. She's not making small talk, so it probably doesn't come up.
And she doesn't know that Jean thinks that Scott is dead, right? Like,
right.
Sure, fine.
But at some point...
They've been there for a week.
Misty Knight has had to be like, hey, so how's Jean? I just saw her.
And he's got to be like, what? Yeah. There's just no reality, right? That this would occur.
Yeah,
unless
it has
she's
to come up at some point.
Unless she's fucking doing it on purpose, right?
Like you think she knows, and she's like, oh, let me play a little mind game.
Yeah, unless she's fucking with them because she hates them all. Like, that's the only possible explanation.
Matt, that's the end of our X-Men issues this episode, but I do have a Pat Steal and Deal.
He's got an eye out, stuff that you could buy out. If you had a time machine that you would like to try out, it's Pat Steals and Steals.
That's right, folks. We got a song now for Pat Steals and Deals.
Yeah, that's so good. It's going to be stuck in all of our heads for the next week.
Huge thanks to Krills Wilson for that one as well. Our Steal and Deal this week, Matt, isn't actually something you can purchase. It's something that you can sit back and enjoy. It is Saturday Morning Fever. It's on the rise on NBC.
Okay.
The new Fantastic Four, 10:30 Eastern Time. Jana of the Jungle in the Godzilla Power Hour, 9:30 Eastern Time. Yogi's Space Race, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. NBC's new Saturday morning show starts September 9th. Check your local TV listings for time and channel.
Okay, all right, wait. You went backwards, but Yogi's Space Race
starts at 8 a.m.
Lasts for an hour and a half.
Right. And what we have here is a picture of Yogi Bear piloting a spacecraft with several Hanna-Barbera characters hanging on.
The only one I recognize is Huckleberry Hound. Then there's like a porcupine and a weird duck with a helmet on.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that we have friends that will be very disappointed in us for not recognizing these others.
And then Jaina of the Jungle in the Godzilla Power Hour. So
starting at 9:30.
So I guess it's Jaina of the Jungle is a half hour, and then Godzilla and Sun, which is what it looks like this cartoon is, because it's Godzilla talking to a smaller, or like wrestling with a smaller Godzilla playfully. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you get the new Fantastic Four.
New Fantastic Four.
Which is, I don't know, I guess there was an old Fantastic Four? I guess... Well, yeah.
Here's why this is interesting, Matt. There's two reasons, I should say. Number one, NBC during the Saturday morning cartoon revolution is advertising directly in Marvel Comics. This is a big deal. This is, I mentioned it, I think, a few episodes back, but we're getting corporate sponsors. We're getting national advertisements in these comic books. Comics are a legitimate place at this point to start advertising in as a national brand, which is just cool. It means so much for the comic industry in the late 70s and what allows some of the really wild stuff that we're about to get into.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting here is that, yes, this is the new Fantastic Four because it's not the original four that we know the Fantastic Four to be. This one is Sue Storm.
Okay.
Reed Richards.
Yeah.
Ben Grimm is the Thing.
Yes.
And Herbie the Robot.
Looks like Herbie the Robot in the picture. So what happened to the Human Torch is dead?
No, the Human Torch's television rights are held by CBS at this time because they had planned to make him his own Human Torch show. NBC managed to buy the rights to the Fantastic Four, but couldn't use Johnny Storm, so they replaced him with Herbie the Robot.
Unbelievable.
Somehow makes his way into comics canon. And
is it even worth making a Fantastic Four cartoon if you don't have Human Torch?
Right?
My God.
Good stuff. Cat steals and deals, folks. Also, I miss Saturday morning cartoons. It's not kids don't have that. They have their screens these days.
These kids with their screens, they're just watching Roblox all day.
Not like us. We watch Saturday morning cartoons.
All day.
Built character.
You know what I used to do? I used to upstairs. I would watch Fox Saturday morning cartoons.
Mhm.
Downstairs, I would tape the WB Saturday morning cartoons.
Ooh.
And so then when Fox was over,
time to watch Freakazoid.
Yeah, time to watch
Eek the Cat.
Exactly. Those were the two good ones.
Eek the Cat might have been Fox, actually, now that I think about it. But Freakazoid was
good
definitely
point.
WB, right?
Freakazoid
Anyway.
was WB. That was basically the one that I wanted to watch the most, too.
Yeah, that show ruled.
So, Pat, what are your overall feelings here? What are your final thoughts on this little clutch of issues?
There's a few things I noticed. Number one, we kind of mentioned this, but there is a ton of Wolverine and Colossus characterization. I think in the past we were looking at Storm, Cyclops, and Nightcrawler a lot, and they're kind of. We still get to see their characters, but
we get a lot of Cyclops, I'd say, but we're
not exploring as much as we're just kind of seeing their current personalities on display. Whereas Wolverine and Colossus are now the ones that are evolving, that we're getting deeper backgrounds for, whether Matt thinks it's valid or not. Despite that, Kurt Nightcrawler is still so fucking cool. He's still got it. He's not the focus anymore, but every time he pops up, he is still written with the same care and love and empathy.
Yeah.
And then the big thing I noticed about this run is the switch to internal monologues. Thing that kind of bugged me in the past, but didn't bug me enough to mention, was that these characters were just constantly talking out loud, constantly saying to themselves or to whoever else is in the room how they feel. It's finally been moved into thought bubbles. And I think that's just a sign of like some more thoughtful writing. Of course, he wouldn't be saying this out loud. This is something he should be saying to himself in his head. Just adds a little more realism to the whole thing.
I still believe it is better. You don't need to have them saying, even in their own head, you don't need to have them saying all this stuff, right? You can show this through the narrative.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of thoughts.
But for this era, you're right. This is a really interesting development, because this is an era where they really haven't figured that show don't tell thing out yet. If you're going to tell not show, you like the best thing you probably can do is thought balloons instead of like you're saying, speaking
instead of dialogue balloons,
speaking it out loud. I think my overall feelings on this little group of issues is in the plot, right? Up till now, Chris Claremont has been really good about his plot is building, and each story is building on the previous one, and they all feel like they're going somewhere. Where these two feel more like classic X-Men, right? Like these feel like two plots that Roy Thomas could have come up with. Sure,
yeah. We're definitely a little more cogent than
definitely
what Roy Thomas would have put together, but yeah.
This could be Roy Thomas and Neil Adams run, just scripted by Claremont.
Yeah, sure.
But it's still not bad. It's just I don't know that I'm ever going to think about Garokk the Sun-God, Garokk aka Garokk the Petrified Man. I don't know if I'm going to think about him ever again, and I don't know that I'm ever going to think about Moses Magnum, right? Like they meant nothing to me, in the same way that the Locust meant nothing to me.
Even just sort of the locales or it's doing that thing that Roy Thomas did love to do, which was call back to other things that he wrote about. So like they're revisiting the Savage Land. They're re-meeting Ka-Zar and interacting with him and his people. They are going to Japan to reacquaint themselves with Sunfire. It's a lot of just like, hey, remember when this happened in the X-Men? Which is a hell we were trapped in for the first 50 issues for sure.
Anyway, I still do think these are really good issues. It's just
just very self-contained, not going quite as deep as we've come to expect.
And I think we are still building quietly, like in the background, to something really interesting. It was just clear he needed the X-Men to be away for a while. He needed to separate the X-Men from Professor X and Jean.
It is interesting how much time passes here, and we kind of made light of it, but it is like a solid quarter of a year that they are presumed dead, and it is long enough to reasonably say, like, yeah, Professor X would probably give up and try to move on with his life.
And same with Jean. Like, it's long enough for her to... you could reasonably assume that maybe she's starting to put it in her. Like, she's probably going to be sad about it for a long time. But at 4 months, 3 to 4 months, she's probably starting to think about putting it in the past.
Yeah. It's a rational timeline here, which, again, is a thing we wouldn't have gotten in past X-Men.
Right. Well, Pat.
Yeah.
I think that's an episode of Mutant Menace. What do you think?
I think so. I think we got a few thank yous to give out.
Like who?
Well, like Krills Wilson for most of the music, Julia Selly for providing the voice of Trish Tilby, Gmail for allowing people to reach us at mutantmenacepod@gmail.com.
And again, as you heard at the beginning of this episode, if you want to be part of our street team, reach out, let us know, email us, mutantmenacepod@gmail.com. Just send us your address.
And we will not read your email out over the air on the podcast.
We won't read your address.
We absolutely promise.
So you can find us on Instagram at Mutant Menace Pod. You can find us anywhere that podcasts are. And please, 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 please share the show and rate it and comment on it and do all the things that allow other people to find it, because otherwise people aren't going to fucking find it.
Yeah, we're going to we'll be here for 30 years doing this shit. So,
so please make it not be in vain.
And yeah, with that, Matt, I think there's just one thing left to do.
We should say our catchphrase that we say at the end of every episode.
That's right. Always remember, folks, my nose ain't worth diddly in this muck.
And as always, the flying shark beneath me faded away.